Well, good morning. Welcome to the Grants Pass Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Steve Van Meter, your senior minister, and we are in the last week of July, which is our Freedom Week, or Freedom Month. We talk about freedom because of July 4th. There is one point of information that I wanted to bring up because I didn't want it to go without saying something about last week. Last Sunday there was a shooting in Grants Pass. Some of you may or may not know that the Parkway Christian Church had a shooter there. Now they think it came from across the street. One of the bullets hit a tree, one of them smashed one of their windows, but of course they went into lockdown mode and did their procedures. And I, of course, talked to our board about that and what our procedures are, and we have procedures in place, and our procedures are prayer. So, and among other things, we're just inviting you to pray for this individual, of course, because if anybody needs prayer, it's someone who thinks that that's a way to solve anything or to discharge a weapon in any direction other than, I don't know, that's a whole other talk. But I didn't want it to go by without saying something about it, that we're going to bring love to that situation as one of our sister communities, right? So, with that said, let's get into today's talk, and it is forgiveness is freedom. So, if you're like many of us, you want to be free of past offenses. Don't we want to kind of let go of some of the real estate that has been held in escrow because of our unforgiveness? And you might say, well, I have to not forgive because then that person that did that wrong will be right. Right? It's so interesting how we hold energy like that. It's like, taking a poison yourself and expecting someone else to feel the effect of it. Here we are poisoning our own life with unforgiveness because something happened. So if we carry bitterness of the memory or hard feelings towards those we feel wronged us, who is actually still experiencing it? We are. You can find freedom from past and peace that come from God when you really forgive from your heart. How in the heck do you do that? Right? How do you forgive completely? And you've forgiven completely when it isn't the first thing you wake up with in the morning, or it isn't something that bothers you late at night. It's actually when you have forgotten the situation entirely. When you have to remind yourself of what that situation was. And over time, hopefully you forget even that. You may go, I remember I had a disagreement, but I don't even remember what it was about. We remember the pain of it, but we don't remember exactly what happened. That's when you know you've had a healing. When you can truly let it go. So I've got 5 steps here. I break it down for us metaphysically. So step 1 is admit that you're experiencing pain. How often do we go, oh, that didn't hurt me. Oh, I didn't feel that. We deny the feeling, and it's there. It's the elephant in the room. And until we can acknowledge that we were feeling some sort of uncomfortableness, can we start the healing process. Offenses can cause pain. Our pride makes us deny it, and some take an attitude of, I don't have to take that from anybody. I don't have to take that from you. But what exactly have you done if you're coming from that place? I don't have to take that. You're taking it. You're literally taking it into your consciousness. I don't have to take that from anybody. I'm better than that. It's when you can say, that's not mine. I don't have to take it. That it does reside in the giver rather than the receiver. Because if you don't accept a gift from someone, where does the gift remain? With the giver. Let it be theirs. If they're going to offer you a gift of challenge, why would we pick that up? So, if we do happen to take it, where some of us have, allow it to come up in a way that you recognize it. Go ahead and recognize that you have some challenges. It's okay. It's actually good to recognize, because then we can face the fear of it, the challenge of it, and we can deal with what it's doing to us. Maybe you want to call a practitioner, or even go and get some therapy if that works for you. Whatever works for you that will allow you to unravel this knot in your life. This knot, get it? N-O-T? And change it into something else. The healing can begin. Such a condition gradually estranges us from others and even from what we believe God is in our life. Denying pain keeps us from starting on the path of forgiveness. So step 2, work through your confused feelings. Straighten out what is yours. What is theirs? What could you have said or done? Maybe nothing. Maybe this was just something to come to pass for their healing, for their expression, and it had nothing to do with you. You happened to be at the place where you received it. So, work through your confused feelings. If you're confused about it, you do want to sit down with somebody, maybe not the person you're confused with yet. Because if they're still spitting out the negativity, they won't possibly see it from your point of view. So, when an offense has occurred, we often need to clarify and sort out the responsibilities. As children, we believe the world revolves around us. Although this tendency is strong in our formative years, it also persists somewhat into our adulthood. Anybody felt that? I'm the only one. As adults, we need to develop firm ground within ourselves, to set boundaries and defend them when our limits have been violated. And it's okay to stand up for yourself and go, you know what, that hurt me. That I'm sensitive there. That triggered something within me. And it's okay to say that. That again is the next step in healing. So step 3 is seek information. Once we're clear as to who's responsible for what, the next step is to discover and try to understand why the offender did what they did. You know, if they're lashing out because of their own inner hurting, and this is usually the case, then maybe they need our prayers too. Can you pray for someone who despitefully uses you? Maybe not right away, right? It's like, I go right into prayer when I get a zinger, right? No, I don't always. Sometimes I go into cursing. Well, that's the human reaction. But in this teaching, we find that if we believe that everything is one, and we start cursing when something challenging happens to us, we're cursing ourselves. If you really follow it back and you believe that we're all one, you're cursing yourself. So what can you do? Start blessing the situation immediately. So in seeking information, it keeps us from dwelling single-mindedly on the situation and the feeling of hurt. We have to get off the hurt. Now, my series next month is going to be about healing the hurt. So stay tuned. We'll get into that next month. But right now, we need to understand what we're not doing is looking for an excuse. We're not looking to excuse anybody for what they did. Oh, well, they had a hard childhood, so of course they're going to act that way. There's no reason to excuse anyone who has done something challenging that you want to forgive. Just understand that it's happened. Identify. Seek information. I had a roommate that I believed had stolen something from me. And I was sure that they had. And I treated them as if they had stolen something from me without saying anything. And then I was moving and I found the item that I thought had been stolen from me. Have you ever done something like that where you go, oh man, I completely made up a story that wasn't true. And I held unforgiveness in my heart for them. I had to go and forgive them. And they didn't even know what was going on. I said, I'm sorry that I had treated you like that. But seeking information will help us resolve the feeling of the hurt. So, step 4 is allow the information that you receive to become an insight for you. Can you grow from this experience? Once the facts are clear, we might imagine that forgiveness occurs automatically. Too often, however, our humanity gets in the way. Our self-protecting and vengeance impulse can pitch us into rounds of self-pity, bitterness, and anger. It takes heroic effort to move beyond our pain, to understand what prevents us from saying, I forgive you. Let's try that. I forgive you. Some of you are like, I kind of forgive you. I forgive you. And I forgive myself. That's a tough one, right? I forgive myself. Come on, you guys can. I forgive myself. Yay, good. I know it's hard, but usually when we're holding unforgiveness, part of us is holding on to it about ourselves. And maybe there's something that you feel that you played into that caused it to happen. Number 5 is choose to relinquish the entire event. Whatever it was, it has come to pass. It brought exactly the information that was needed at the time. Even if you don't understand it right now, understand that there are reasons beyond your ability to understand right now that it needed to happen. Now, again, this isn't to condone any challenging behavior someone else has done. It's to set yourself free of the bonds of entanglement that hold yourself out of experiencing all the love in the world. And this is what we do, you know? If I can't make them bad, then I'll suffer myself so that I can feel that pain. It's so weird. The human psyche does weird things to itself to try to get through the pain. But we don't have to do that to ourselves anymore. It's our choice. It's an act of will that sets us free from our burdens of the past. It seems that we human beings always had some trouble with the idea of forgiving someone who has wronged us, because it's natural to feel hurt and harmed. Jesus the Christ, the master teacher of forgiveness, I call him the master practitioner, came to show us a new way, a supernatural way to see things differently. He teaches us how to adopt a new attitude of the heart that helps us live above our natural impulses. If we can change our natural impulses from instantly going to cursing to instantly saying, I bless this situation. And, at first when I was working with this, I go, God, bless it. Sometimes I'd have to give an expletive first to get that out. And then I remember my teaching. I want to bless everything. If I'm cursing, I'm part of the challenge. How can I send blessing in this? How can this be resolved? In choosing to relinquish the whole event, I tell a little story about these two monks that were by the side of a river, and they had to cross. And a beautiful maiden came and said, "Please, can you help me get across this raging river?" And the monks are sworn to not touch a female. But the older monk says, "Yes, I will help you cross." And the younger monk gets very nervous, and they cross. He puts her down, and she goes on her way, and they continue walking. And the younger monk says, "You really shouldn't have done that. That was totally against our teaching. There's consequences to this. We took a vow." And the older monk said, "Stop. I put her down at the edge of the water. You are still carrying her." Because he's carrying her in consciousness, complaining about it. You need to let it go. The younger monk couldn't let go that the older monk had done this terrible thing, not seeing what help it had brought to the situation. Interesting how we carry. What are you still carrying? Again, this isn't to call anybody out. It's just to see where you might be carrying something. Look in your duffel bag of hurts and challenges. I like to travel light, so I enlighten up. Let go of that stuff. Again, I'm not bringing this up for a challenge. But if you're carrying it and you don't know why, maybe it's time to let it go. And maybe if you still have some pain around it, maybe you want to go home and have a good cry about it. Because some things are challenging to let go of. But when we can let go fully, we open up a whole new level of real estate in our consciousness that allows more love in. See, our mind is a vacuum. And if we just get rid of something and don't have something positive to fill its space, anything that's laying around will be deposited into that space. So we need to do an affirmation. We need to look at prayer. We need to look at nature. We need to look at how the recycling process of the universe works. What happens to a flower when it is given off its fragrance? It is no longer supported by the plant and it falls to the ground. It becomes the mulch that grows the next rose. Can your old ideas of unforgiveness fall to the ground and become the manure that grow the next beautiful thing in your life? And it can if we can see it in the right way. That's what our whole teaching is about. It's not about changing the world. It's about seeing it rightly. When we can see things in a different way, music flies out of the dog do. Literally, it can be that powerful. Forgiveness is something that you do for yourself, not for that person that may have wronged you. Sometimes the pain is so great that we cannot find the strength to forgive. And in these times, it is enough that we pray for the elevated perception, the consciousness, the light, and the grace of forgiveness. And it will come. Healing will come. But we have to be aware that healing is possible. So, I have another question. Do you believe that whatever you're walking through can be healed? Yes? Because if we can't even introduce the idea that it's possible, we have some great work to do. And maybe we do. Just the idea, maybe you can only be willing to forgive. Maybe you can't even get to the forgiveness part yet. But can you be willing to at some point let it go? And you're on the road to a new energetic in your consciousness. Now, it takes the consciousness of a saint to constantly walk through this life, not turn on the TV and get upset with something, or somebody took your spot or cut you off or took the last bagel at the store or whatever it is for you. But if we can look at it differently and see the gift of spiritual energy that is being offered to us in each moment and step back from our wanting to label everything as wrong or a problem or a situation and just go, you know what? This too is good. This too is God. And I demand to see the blessing in this. This too is good, this too is God, and I demand to see the blessing in this. That's one of my favorite affirmations. Now, you can tell that if something comes up and I have to say that I've probably taken it into my consciousness as negativity, because I need to do some work on it. So where is your work? Where are you walking today? And again, this isn't to call anybody out. It's just perception. If we can see that we are part of the solution, then a solution is at hand. The more that we see we're part of the problem, the universe always says, yes, let me show you how much of a problem you are. You know, I looked at all of my challenges in my life, and there was one common denominator in all of them, and it was me. It's like, oh, why do they get me every time with that? It's always back on me, you know? Why can't it be their fault or their problem? Well, maybe it is. But if you're involved in it, what is yours? Identify it and let it go. Let it go. So in conclusion, admit that you may be experiencing pain. Work through the confused feelings. Seek information. Set boundaries. And allow the information to become an insight. And then choose to relinquish the entire event. How does it feel now that it's done? It's over. You've had a complete healing of whatever you're walking through. Don't you feel good? Don't you feel lighter? A little enlightened up? So forgiveness is the key to freedom. And so it is. Thank you. Well, it's time for our healing prayer now. So I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, and let's just follow our teaching and go within. So I invite you to bring to the forefront of your consciousness whatever you believe the creative energy of the universe is for you. And that's your business. You get to call it whatever you want it to be for you. Is it source energy or Christ consciousness or love, peace, harmony? I think we can all agree that there is something powering everything that is. There is something wonderful that is causing the next rose to bloom, the next wave to crash on the beach, for the next smile to come your way. Something is animating all that is. And I know that each one of us is a part of and unified with that consciousness, or we would not be. The proof is that you exist. Each one of us exists within the universe of love. And as we let go of what possibly bothered us or hindered our healing yesterday, we move into a new vibration of healing today. We let go of what no longer serves us, what may have bothered us or caused us grief yesterday, and we move into the solution. Be it a physical healing or a healing of love, the healing of abundance, knowing that you have all that you need and that it is being provided to you in a wonderful way. The universe doesn't make any extra parts. Each one of us is necessary to the love of the universe. And as we turn into that love turns into us. So I speak a word of healing upon anyone, anywhere who has ever asked for prayer, knowing that that energy of love has rushed right in before the need and is already doing exactly what needs to be done for the perfect healing in every situation. So I say thank you. Thank you, divine, loving energy of healing. I place these words directly into that living, loving law of mind where I know it returns to us filled to overflowing with everything and more that we could ever want. So we let go and we let God be God in every situation, knowing that something wonderful is happening by means of each one of us, as we affirm it together by saying, and so it is. Amen. Okay.